It's my particular delight that we have here with us today the Chancellor of our great university, Lord Patten, a Chancellor who has shown astonishing energy and commitment to the university in the short time that he's done it, the very small proportion of the overall time that he'll serve as Chancellor. We're very, very lucky that he's able to be with us this afternoon and say a little bit about what a fabulous place St Hughs is. Lord Patten went to Balliol, but that's not his fault because that long ago, Lord Patten didn't have what it took to come to St Hughs. At least not as a member of the college. Lord Patten, we are hugely honoured that you're here with us, and we very much look forward to hearing from you.
Andrew, thank you very much indeed for that a very cordial explanation of my gender. There's a true story told about Harold Wilson, whom older members here will remember. Harold Wilson, campaigning in the 1966 general election campaign, went to Chatham to deliver a speech and began his speech by saying, "I want to talk to you tonight about the future of the Royal Navy." And he went on with that fatal thing for politicians with a rhetorical question. He said, "Why do I want to talk to you this evening about the Royal Navy?" And somebody at the back of the hall shouted out, "Because you're in Chatham." But I assure you, the reason why I'm going to be so complimentary about St Hughs isn't because I'm in St Hughs today, or because of the charms of your wonderful principal. But it's, as I used to say to the Chinese, and they used to look rather suspicious, I'm speaking from the heart. The Chinese have a wonderful saying, or anthem, I think it's 3rd century, that if you want to be happy for a few hours, you get drunk. If you want to be happy for months or years, you fall in love. If you want to be happy for life, you become a gardener. I think there's a great deal in that. It's almost impossible to think of any serious crime committed by a gardener. Professor Plum, Miss Scarlett, never Mr. Bloom. And of course, gardens are one of the things that we do best in this country. Garden parties remind us from time to time of that, but also remind us of why we do gardens so well in this country, because of the weather. And today, improbably, particularly since it's a Wimbledon final with Sharapova down in the first set. It's unusual for us to actually have the conditions in which we can see these wonderful gardens and Gertrude Jekyll herbaceous borders, and it all looks absolutely terrific. Pretty well the first person to say that things were going to the dogs, as anybody who's read Dermot McCulloch's History of Christianity will be able to tell you. I won't ask you to put your hands up. Pretty well the first person to say that things were going to the dogs was St. Augustine of Hippo, who at least had the excuse then of the fact that Hippo was surrounded by Arian vandals. More recently, I've had less sympathy with people who think things are going to the dogs, though I noticed the other day in the Daily Telegraph a report of that fight that took place at Ascot, and the Daily Telegraph noted that one of the people involved in the brawl had been wearing a blue suit and brown shoes. So maybe they are getting worse. But I don't believe that things are getting worse. Indeed, in many respects, they've been getting a lot better. Andrew has been telling us all week that we're all going to live longer. He deals with some of the consequences of that all this week, or all the coming week. I think that's a pretty good thing, and the older I get, the better sort of thing I think that is. My last book was called What Next? And I sent a copy to the Chancellor of Cambridge University, the Duke of Edinburgh, and he wrote back a very charming handwritten note saying, "What next?" He said, "When you're my age, there's only one answer." Anyway, living longer, though it has its challenges. And I suppose another example of things getting better is the increased opportunities almost everywhere for half the population to achieve their full potential. I mean, of course, the advancement of women's education and opportunities for women, though the story is not yet ended. St. Hughs has been a very important part of that story for 125 years. And when I looked at the list of some of your alumna, I realized what formidable teaching you must have provided here down the years. To produce Aung San Suu Kyi, one of the greatest women of our age, and also a Dave Lee Travis fan, Barbara Castle, and one reason why none of us will drive home tonight 5 parts to the wind is because of her courage as a minister. And now, of course, the Home Secretary, Theresa May, one of the few members of the government who wasn't at Magdalen College. There are certain consequences. And you may remember that the Prime Minister David Cameron was at Brasenose College. Vernon Bogdanor, the professor of politics, taught him politics there. Vernon Bogdanor keeps on telling us that David Cameron was his pupil. So if things go wrong, you know who to blame. But it's a formidable list of people who've shaped the world and pushed the world in a better direction. And all of us of my sex are grateful for the last 25 years you've been educating young men as well as young women. I just want to make one serious point. This is, with Cambridge, the greatest collegiate university in the world. The colleges where young men and young women eat, sleep, work, play games, enjoy themselves, are taught. A system which underpins a pretty well unique way of teaching throughout the world. And it's that system, the tutorial system, as well as our extraordinary achievements in research, which have meant that Oxford remains in the top 3 or 4 universities worldwide, despite the best efforts of governments over a number of years. Some of our achievements aren't at all well known. It's known that most of the league tables put Oxford at the very top in teaching and studying the humanities. What's perhaps less well known is that Oxford is almost certainly now the best place in the world to study mathematics. What's not perhaps as well known as it should be is the extraordinary strength of biomedicine at this university. If we separated the biomedicine division from the rest and established it as a separate university, it would have the 5th largest research funding in Europe. It's an extraordinary achievement. So Oxford continues to punch well above its weight in terms of its endowment and the number of young men and young women who are here. But all our colleges and the university as well, working together, do need to raise more money for the things we want to do. Things on college campuses like the China Centre, which will start on the campus here at St. Hughs in the next few years. Things like the Maths Institute down the road on the Radcliffe site. But above all, I want us to raise more money so that we can make absolutely certain in the future of needs-blind access to Oxford, so we can provide every young person with the ability to get here with a bursary if they come from a poor background. And I say with the ability to get here because we do continue to be subjected to a great deal of advice on how we could increase social mobility. Advice comes from the Bullingdon Club, it comes from all over the place. I think we can help play a role in social inclusion, but not by diluting the standards that we set for young men and women to come and study here. So I want us to be able to offer more scholarships. I want us to be able to offer more scholarships to postgraduates from abroad. As a world-class university, we have to scour the world for the best. And competing with the great American Ivy League universities in that respect is not easy when we can't offer as many young people full funding for their postgraduate work. So please don't get too cross when you get letters from St. Hughs or eloquent speeches from the principal about how you can support the university. We now have 14% of alumni and alumnae at the university supporting their colleges or the university. The figure for the country as a whole is less than 2%. The figure for Cambridge is just under 10%. That figure has gone up exponentially in the last few years. At some colleges, it's as high as 33, 34%. And if we can gradually push the average for all colleges up, we'll be able to increase the size of our endowment and offer the next generation of young people the same sort of chance that you and I had. Oxford, I was the first member of my family to go to university. Oxford certainly completely transformed and shaped my life and gave me the opportunity to, for example, today, to answer letters grumbling about BBC television programmes. Or radio programmes, for that matter. Anyway, thank you very much indeed for allowing me to come and share in your garden party and to express my enthusiasm for St. Hughs and all that Andrew and his colleagues have been doing. Andrew has been an outstanding principal. He's done a wonderful job. Yes, applause is allowed. And I'm sure that you'll help to build on the very strong foundations which he has laid. This hasn't, of course, been the happiest end to a week. It was once said that the three most depressing words in the English language were "come on, Tim." Now we know that the three most depressing words in the English language are "come on, Andy." I look forward to the time when we can say once again, come on, Bunny. But what we can all say today with enthusiasm is, come on, St. Hughs. Thank you for asking me.
Thank you, Chancellor. I do love to say thank you, Chancellor, as long as it doesn't have of the Exchequer afterwards. To have the Chancellor of the University here, how marvellous that is. We're really grateful that you could be with us. Everybody stay and have a cup of tea. In not very long, in fact in 9 minutes, we will be opening the new Senior Members and Fellows Garden down that way. So those of you who'd like to come, do come on down. We'll all squeeze in. And thank you again for being here, and do please enjoy the rest of the day.